So I think 2 minutes more and we can start. I will make some very small introduction and I will give a floor to Christian and then to Pierre. And then we will have maybe some questions. And that's it. So I think we can start, okay? I will start to record our webinar, okay. Okay, good morning to everyone. Thank you very much for coming for our next edition of the CE Talent webinar. Today's topic is migration and human rights. Normally, the introduction makes our general coordinator of reSEArch-EU, Laura Martin, but she apologized. She couldn't attend today to our webinar. And I will make this very small speech and will drive this meeting. My name is Maria Zemkovaya. I'm technical manager of the reSEArch-EU project. And we are making several webinars. We have had already 8 editions of CU Talent webinars. You can check them out in our YouTube channel of CU. We previously spoke about the climate change, about blue growth, food sustainability, human health, etc. Very interesting topics. Also, you can check them out in our webpage of reSEArch-EU. For us, it's very important to make these webinars because they provide with very important research in the European universities, and they're free accessible for students, young researchers and young like general public around Europe and of course out of Europe. Today we will speak, as I told already, about the human rights and migration. We have 2 speakers who kindly accepted the invitation to participate in our webinar, and they will provide us with very interesting presentations. First speaker will be Christian Sanchez Benitez, who works as a professor at the University of Cadiz, and he will speak about immigration, criminal law, and human rights. And another speaker will be Pierre Edward Vale. I'm sorry if I pronounced, guys, your names incorrectly. So, and his topic, he will speak about defending French national employment or posted workers' rights. He works as an associated professor at the Western Brittany University in France. As we know, right now it's a very unstable situation in on the world scale, because of unfortunately there are a lot of wars which are going on in many parts of the world, and it's very important to to protect these people who is escaping from these horrible situations. And also, of course, we need to know about our rights in our daily life, which can be broken. And about these topics will be more speak Pierre. He will speak about the rights in the work environment. So I will not speak more because I have very little knowledge in this area. And I would like to give a floor to Christian Sanchez. And we can see already his presentation. So please, Christian, you can start. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Maria. Thank you very much to the organization, to my university, to the University of Cádiz, to Maria, and to the European University of the Seas for organizing this webinar. My level of English is not very good, but I hope to be able to explain well the topic that I would like to talk about. In this presentation, in this speech, I would like to talk about a very important issue at the present time in Spain, and I think it's also in Europe, a very important issue linked to a very dangerous affirmation, an affirmation that comes from very specific political sectors, an affirmation that links immigration and crime. Among this sector, it's insinuated that immigrants, especially from certain countries, commit more crimes than national citizens, and that an increase of immigrants increases crime. With this presentation, I'm not going to try to provide an answer, a solution. The relationship between immigration and crime is a very complex phenomenon. There are many variables to be taken into account, variables that are omitted from the simplistic discourses that affirm a clear link between immigration and crime. Crime is multi-causal. There is no single cause of crime, and immigration is a complex phenomenon. Therefore, I don't offer any solution nor any clear answer, categorical answer, but I would like to offer some data to dispute, to confront the simplistic, the xenophobic, and the classist assertion that says that immigrants commit more crimes than nationals in Spain, and that says that the increase in immigration increases crime. We should not forget that sectors of the population that promote this discourse are focused on the poor foreigners, I mean, on immigrants for economic reasons, who tend to come from Latin America, Africa, Asia. The foreigners who come from the north, who are not immigrants in general, but tourists or retired people, are welcome. I'm speaking ironically. Therefore, there is racism, there is xenophobia, there is a porophobic root, phobia of poor people. Aporophobia is a Spanish word, very, very common in Spain. There are 47 million people living in Spain, and 11% of the people living in Spain are foreigners. What is the percentage of foreigners in Spain in Spanish prisons? 30. What is the percentage of foreigners detained or investigated in Spain in 2022? 33. Clearly, there is an overrepresentation of foreigners, a higher overrepresentation in crimes against sexual freedom, thefts in public places, crimes against public order, mainly confrontations with the police, crimes against industrial and intellectual property, crimes or forgery, mainly falsifying documents to pretend they have legal residence. There are 11 of foreigners living in Spain, but the percentage of foreigners in Spain in Spanish prisons is 30. and were detained and under investigation 33. A question: does this mean that foreigners commit more crimes than Spaniards, people from Spain? No, there are explanations that allow us to adapt this statement. Firstly, the percentage of foreigners residents in Spain has risen a lot from 1996 to 2022. In 1996, 1% of residents in Spain were foreigners. In 2022, 11%. However, the homicide rate in Spain has gradually decreased from 1 per 100,000 inhabitants in 1996 to 0.6 in 2022. And what can we say about the crime rate in general? The crime rate in Spain has remained stable from 1996 to 2022. You can see a moment, please. Okay, you can see the slide, the data from the slide here. Okay. Therefore, according to the statistical data that we have, it's not possible to say categorically that the increase in immigration generates an increase in crime, because in Spain, immigration has increased a lot and crime remains at very stable levels. However, why do we see this overrepresentation of foreigners in detentions, in investigations, and in prisons? There are several explanations that can help us explain this overrepresentation in prisons, detentions, investigations. Firstly, the legislative power does not always decide rationally which behaviors should constitute a crime, should become a crime. Some behaviors are criminalized because criminal law is used as an instrument of combat, fight against other sectors. Law is an instrument of power. We cannot forget that. And criminal law even more so. It makes no rational sense to punish as a crime the street selling of a music CD or a fake Real Madrid or Football Club Barcelona t-shirt. An administrative sanction is enough to resolve that. There is no need to use criminal law, which is the toughest branch of law. Criminal law can send you in jail, can send you in prison. A person who for economic needs sells a fake Real Madrid shirt should not be charged with a crime, even if the offense is minor. But Spanish criminal law understands that such behavior is criminal. Therefore, we can say that the Spanish legislative power has selected certain behaviors committed by immigrants as a criminal offense. Therefore, there is a higher probability that certain behaviors committed by immigrants in order to survive will be considered a crime. Another explanation, we shouldn't forget that the human, the material, and the economic means to deal with crime are very limited. There are not enough police to prosecute all the crimes committed in a country, in Spain, in France, in Italy. The police have to prioritize, to select behaviors on which they focus their work. They have to prioritize. And the crimes committed by immigrants are often visible crimes, more easily prosecuted. They are normally street offenses, shoplifting, street selling of protected things. It's easier to prosecute these crimes than crimes committed by big people, cybercrime, corporate crime, corruption, crimes committed by politicians. In addition, immigrants are more subject to police controls, especially when they are they come from Africa, Latin America, Asia, immigrants who have different skin color, different faces, when they don't look like normal Spanish people. This is common in the United States. They say racial profiling. This also happens in Europe, in Spain as well. A black person is much more likely to be stopped and identified by the police. So it's not that immigrants commit more crimes than nationals. It's that they are more likely to be discovered because they are much more subject to police controls. Another reason, preventive detention. The preventive detention is a measure for people who are subject to a process, who have not yet been sentenced. To prevent them from absconding, from getting away, from running away, to prevent them from destroying evidence, to prevent them from acting against the victim. Immigrants are much more likely to end up in preventive detention than nationals, at least in Spain. Why? For the simple reason that judges tend to understand that there is a greater likelihood of risk of absconding because they can go to their countries. This could be one reason that could explain the overrepresentation of foreigners in Spanish prisons. Besides, in Spain, it's possible that a person sentenced to pay a financial amount, a fine, end up in prison if he or she cannot pay the fine. It's more likely that an immigrant who usually has few financial resources will not be able to pay the fine and will end up in prison. Therefore, the economic situation, marginality, the criminal culture in some neighborhoods, the pro-crime culture, the dangerous friendships, etc., are the circumstances that affect crime. But crimes committed by immigrants and crimes committed by nationals, there is no difference. It's not nationality, it's not skin color, it's not the origin that links with crime, but the conditions of misery in which they live. These are the causes that could explain certain criminal manifestations committed by immigrants. On the other hand, there are certain crimes where there is a very high prevalence of immigrants, but as victims. Their skin color makes them the main target of hate crimes. They have few economic resources, so they are the perfect victims of work exploitation, human trafficking, slavery, prostitution, sexual exploitation. They also live in unsafe neighborhoods with a higher risk of being victims of street crimes, thefts, for example, robbery, for example. In addition, they have less family and social support because their support networks are mainly in their country of origin. Therefore, it's more difficult for them to sue, to report to the police, to denounce to the police, and this generates a greater perception of impunity for the aggressor. There are many examples in Spain of men that sexually assault their domestic workers, normally women workers without legal residence, who don't dare to report to the police because the complaint could lead them to the deportation. There have been cases of people without legal residence in Spain, victim of a crime, who have gone to the police to report an offense, and they have been deported by the police. Most victims of work slavery are immigrants, but they don't report. They don't report because they don't want to be deported. for several reasons, for fear of being deported, because they don't have the resources to pay for a lawyer, and they don't know if they are entitled to free justice because they are afraid of losing their jobs. It's reasonable to think that there is a very high black figure in crimes whose victims are immigrants, especially immigrants without legal residence, because they don't go to report the crimes to the police. We should remember that we also should remember that there are certain crimes committed inside the cycle of immigrants. Genital mutilation, forced marriage, for example, mothers and fathers from Africa who forced their adolescent daughters to genital mutilation in Spain, or who live in Spain but in a trip to their native country carry out this mutilation and then return to Spain. There are several convictions in Spain for that. Mothers and fathers who force their daughters to marry a man, usually much older than the doctor. There are several cases of Pakistanis who have been convicted in Spain for that. I could talk a lot about all this. There are many variables that we can be taking into account, but we have to be brief. To end, we cannot forget something that it's happening in several countries of the European Union, countries that are criminalizing, sorry for my pronunciation, criminalizing humanitarian aid to immigrants, sanctioning NGOs that help immigrants. This criminalization has increased in recent years with the rise of far-right governments in several countries in Europe, with the refugees crisis from the Syrian war, not only in Spain, but also elsewhere in other countries in Europe. The European Parliament has had to intervene in 2018 with a statement that you can read in the slide, in the PowerPoint. In Greece, in Italy, in Hungary, there is a trend to use the penal code, the criminal code, to prosecute NGOs that help immigrants. Several NGO workers have been prosecuted for crimes, mainly illegal trafficking of human beings. And in Spain was made an attempt in 2013. There was an attempt to reform, to amend the penal code, the criminal code. The government wanted to reform an article of the penal code to criminalize the humanitarian aid. You can see in the slide the draft of the reform. But however, in the end, unfortunately, the Spanish government did not carry out this criminalization of humanitarian aid. In short, to conclude, my aim, as I said at the beginning of this presentation, is to avoid simplistic and irrational messages that link immigration and crime. Immigration and crime are very complex phenomena, and to link the two phenomena directly without taking into account many other variables is anti-scientific. We who work in the social science, criminology and criminal law mainly, we have to avoid this type of message. There is no simple answer. The relationship between crime and immigration is not clear. The only thing that we can say is that the situation of social exclusion in which immigrants normally live in our countries, in Spain, for example, would operate as a criminogenic factor. I mean, a factor that could link with crime, but mainly as a risk factor for victimization. Being immigrant is a risk factor to become victim of certain crimes. Thank you very much for your attention and for your patience, and sorry for my pronunciation.
Thank you very much, Christian. A very, very interesting presentation, and it's really touched my heart, let's say, because I also immigrant, and I didn't, fortunately, I didn't have a very hard experience about the topics you touched, but I have some questions, and I will ask you afterwards. And by the way, your English is very good. I understand very well. So thank you so much. And I would like to give a floor to Pierre
Okay.
to
Thank you,
start.
Maria. My English is not so perfect, also, but I will try to be clear in my presentation. And thank you, Maria, for the organization, and thank you, Christian, for your presentation. I will have a few questions to ask to you after mine. So can I share my screen now? We tried it before and it was
Yes,
working, so
yes,
I'm not
yes, please.
so preoccupied. Uh, okay. Do you see do you see my slide?
No, still no, till now, no.
Okay. Uh, it should work. Yes.
Yes, yes. But please use the mode of presentation.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
right
I'm good.
now, yes, fully, we can see fully
Is
your
it okay right
slides.
now?
Yes,
Okay. Sorry
perfect.
for the 30 seconds lost.
It's okay, don't worry. And we also understand very well your English. So
Okay, thank you
thank
very
you.
much. So a few words about me. I've been interested in human rights as a political scientist and as a sociologist since approximately 15 years. And I'm not so young anymore, even if I hope to be still a talent.